Welcome, everyone, to the City of Chino Council Candidates Forum, brought to you by the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. The purpose of this forum is to allow voters an opportunity to learn more about the candidates running for our city council. It is our goal that the information provided this evening will assist voters in making more informed decisions as they cast their votes. My name is Will Fleet. I'm publisher of the Chino Valley Champion, and I'm a board member of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. I am privileged this evening to serve as moderator. Jeff Vaca of Ultimate Source, and also a member of the Chino Valley Chamber Board of Directors, will be serving as your timekeeper. So the format for this evening includes a 2-minute opening statement from each of you, a question and answer session, and a 2-minute closing statement. The opening statements can be 2 minutes or less. You don't have to fill up the entire time if you don't wish. Our timekeeper will keep you informed of the time, of your time that you have remaining via the blue, green, yellow, and red cards. The blue card indicates 60 seconds remaining, green card, 30 seconds. Yellow card means 10 seconds are left, and the red card means stop. You may finish a sentence if you are in the middle of a sentence when the card is shown, but please not several sentences. This year we have 6 candidates running for city council, all of whom were able to join us this evening. Thank you. The candidates were randomly assigned seats prior to the start of the forum. The candidates for Chino City Council are, from District 2, Curtis Burton, Gregory Marquez, and Sylvia Orozco. From District 3, Mark Lucio, Larry Wu, and Aber Bouchard. So let's get started with the opening statements. Candidate Wu, your opening statement, please.
Good evening, everyone. I decided to run for the city council member is because I have lived in the Chino, my district, for 3 years, and I've seen some things going on, and by talking to my neighbors and see something that could be done, and our neighbors have a heavily Chinese and Asian population, and I don't see that being, their interest has been represented over the previous years, and that's why I decided to stand out and speak for their interests. Over.
Thank you. Mr. Orozco.
Good evening, Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for putting on this forum and allowing us to share with the community. So let me share a little bit about me, Sylvia Orozco. I am a lifelong resident. I attended Chino schools and graduated from Chino High School. I earned my bachelor's degree in business administration from Cal State Fullerton. I'm a businesswoman who is a registered tax preparer, and I've been married to Ruben for 32 years, and he is a retired correctional officer. We have 3 wonderful sons. Eric graduated from FITM, and he is working in his industry as operations manager. Alex graduated from Cal State LA, and he's working in his field of TV and film. And Mark is in his final year at Cal State Long Beach, and he will earn his degree in construction management. I currently serve on the San Bernardino County Civil Service Commission, as well as the Chino Valley YMCA Board of Directors. I'm thankful to have had the opportunity to serve the community as school board member for 3 terms, from 2006 to 2018. In addition to serving on the Board of Education, I've served on many state and local boards, committees, and commissions. During my term of service, I built a record of integrity, independence, and effective and thoughtful leadership. My experience has given me a solid foundation in governance. It has been a privilege to serve the community in my various roles, including school board member, and I now look forward to the opportunity of serving as your councilwoman. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marquez.
Hello, everyone. I began this journey with the intent to bring City Council back to the people of Chino who live, work, and enjoy our community. My focus is not concerned with politics. My focus is concerned on policy and providing good local governance. The people of Chino depend on their city leaders' knowledge on the topics brought forward to the policy agenda that they wish to be implemented. I want to engage my neighbors in working together to solve problems. Just a little information about myself. I'm 41 years old, and I'm married to my wife, Angie, and I've lived in Chino for over 16 years. We have raised our 2 children here, and Angie's family has also moved to Chino. We love our city, and we have enjoyed everything Chino has to offer with its beautiful parks and fun community events. Most importantly, we love the friends that we have made along the way. Before I go into my qualifications, I would like to pay my respects to Councilmember Hargrove. He was an amazing person who gave so much to this community, and I must thank Councilmember Pocock for his service in the interim to this election. When Councilmember Pocock announced in the Chino Champion that he was not going to run for office, I immediately knew I was ready to serve my community, and I also knew the expectations were set very high. I believe my years of training, experience, and education have prepared me to serve in this position. My education consists of a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a master's degree in public administration. This has prepared me to take an educated approach to problem solving. I have served as a police officer for close to 17 years, working patrol, gangs, detectives, community-oriented, and problem-oriented policing. I have served as a youth mentor for several years with the Rialto Police Department Pride Platoon, as a criminal justice instructor at Chaffey College, and as a community services commissioner here in the city of Chino. With each of these positions, I've gained different perspectives and gained life experiences, which will guide my decisions as a council member in District 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marquez. Mr. Burton.
Hello, everyone. I'm Curtis Burton, and I'm running for Chino City Council District Number 2. First and foremost, I want everyone to know that I'm a Christian man. I'm married, and my wife and I have 3 adult children and an absolutely incredible 5-year-old grandson. I served as a Chino police officer for over 30 years, and when I honorably retired, I continued to serve as a volunteer for this community. I now serve as a City of Chino Planning Commissioner. Chino holds a very special place in my heart as I have lived, served, and raised my family in this incredible city for nearly 40 years. It's been my mission to serve and protect the residents of the City of Chino. I'm a proven leader, possessing honesty, integrity, commitment, and sound judgment. Our current City Council is doing a tremendous job, and I believe with my contributions, the City of Chino will thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lucio.
Hello, my name is Mark Lucio. I want to first thank the Chamber for putting this event on. I also would like to thank the residents of Chino for giving me the opportunity to serve as your city councilman for the past 4 years. We started this journey in 2018, and I would have to say that this first term has been a very challenging one. This term had us endure the movement of defunding the police, which I'm proud to say that us as a council never even entertained the thought of defunding our police department, because we know that when you do something like that, the only one that suffers is our residents. So I'm proud to say that all of us on the council, including myself, were always a strong proponent of policing, and we always stood by our police officers. We also had to deal with COVID, and I will say that I'm proud that the rest of the council, including myself, we left it up to the business owners to make the decision of how they were going to keep their residents safe. What did that mean? That meant that we were the only city around that had indoor dining. If you looked at some of the places like Chop House 363, Casa Diaz, they all remained open. Our gyms remained open, the small ones, Fitness 19, as well as Planet Fitness. We did this because we felt that the business owners were the ones that should be making the decisions on how they're going to keep their people safe. And that's why we were the only community that had people from all over coming into our neighborhoods to shop at our centers. And I think that was instrumental in keeping a lot of our businesses open. On a personal level, I'm married to my wife Sandra. We've lived here in Chino for 19 years. Next year will be 20. We have six kids, ranging from the ages of 23 all the way down to 2 years old. I have a bachelor's degree in criminology from the University of Laverne. I have a master's from the University of Southern California. And that's all I have. Looks like my
Thank you,
time's up.
Mr. Lucio. Mr. Bushara.
Good evening. I'm Abir Bashara. I reside in Preserve in city of Chino, where I lived with my family for over 4 years. I got married last year. No kids yet. I'm a public service engineer. I'd like to help my immediate community and get involved early, as have been involved in my greater community throughout the state of California, where I'm involved in each and every person's life by saving countless life every day through improving roadway safety and traffic conditions, where I save each and every one of you over a period of 5 mile, for every 5 mile traveled every day, an average of 84 hours a year. I work for the state of California, and I worked also through other municipalities, served in other municipalities before, including city of Los Angeles, where I managed, I designed, constructed, and managed major city infrastructure, $345 million annual funds. I also manage city-wide programs as Safe Road to School programs. I would like to serve my community by solving a lot of the issues and problems that's existing in our areas, as far as traffic and traffic safety and all other areas that concerns the residents, not only in District 3, the Preserve and College Park, but everywhere in between, and the city of Chino in general. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. It's now time to move on to the question and answer portion of the program. To encourage candid responses, none of you have received advance notification of what the questions are, and so everyone will be on a level playing field. The questions are a combination of those received in advance from the community and chamber members, and those prepared by members of the chamber's Legislative Action Committee. Remember, you will have up to 1 minute, 60 seconds to answer each of the questions. As we did earlier, please pay attention to Jeff and the colored cards to help you stay on time. So we will start again with Mr. Wu, and the first question is, what are the top 3 issues facing our city, and how would you address them?
Top 3 issues that, according to my observation and talking to my neighbors, I felt like in our district, the traffic is one of the top issues. And also, number 2 will be the air pollutions that caused by all the delivery diesel trucks. Number 3, our district needs a new police station. Lack of a police enforcement on the truck driving on the Kimball that's not permitted is causing a lot of issues every morning and evening. Those are the 3 issues. Oh, the other issue that a lot of our parents talk about is the school choices selections that we lack of is under the concern to a lot of people. Those are the top concerns.
Thank you. Same question, Ms. Orozco.
Thank you. I believe traffic is definitely one of the most cited issue among residents. Maintenance of roads is a second one. Interestingly enough, when I was walking, I met a resident who was frustrated with the roads in their neighborhood. They actually had their roads prepped for resurfacing, but they still haven't been resurfaced. Well, the big thing about that is they were prepped a year ago, September 2021, and they still have not been resurfaced. And so frustration from residents for things that don't get followed through. Third one would be, in my view, it's and is also with residents who shared that not enough communication with the council and the residents. And my time is up.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Marquez.
One would be retention of our city employees. There's a lot of talk about officers leaving our city to go on to other police departments for better pay and wages. My resolution to that would be to support pay increase and benefits, to support our officers and retain them, their experience, and keep them working in the city of Chino. And that goes across the board. I've talked to other public works and other departments who are seeking other jobs in other cities, and we need to keep those employees here in our city. The second issue would be with supporting our local businesses. I've talked to a lot of business owners, and business owners are frustrated with the process of setting up their businesses here in the city as far as the red tape and older ordinances. The third issue would be streets. I would resolve that issue through a pavement management system. There was a recent workshop where City Council adopted a new program. I would like to go further and make that program available for all residents to monitor the progress as those new streets are repaved and improvements are made in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burton.
Public safety, infrastructure, and economic vitality. It's essential to support our first responders and ensure that they have the tools, resources, and training necessary to safeguard our city, which will enhance the lives of our residents and business owners. Currently, our police officers are receiving pay and benefits that are well below the industry standard, which needs to be addressed immediately. Our police officers and firefighters are top-notch, and the community needs to support their efforts. The infrastructure, as our population continues to grow, it adds stress to our aging infrastructure. It's got to be designed for sustainability, giving proper attention and concern to the aesthetic elements that contribute to the quality of life that our residents and business owners have come to expect. And the economic vitality, our city's economic vitality needs to be improved through smart developments. We also need to focus on older areas that need updating to maintain a high degree of balance. This will create jobs to get our residents back to work, to stimulate Chino's economic growth, supporting short and long-term fiscal stability.
Thank you. Mr. Lucio.
Yes. The first one's going to be public safety. We are losing quite a few police officers. I believe we lost already 5, potentially 6 this year. But when we lose officers, we're losing experience going out the door. We never want to become a city where we are a training ground for other cities to come take our experienced officers. So I believe we need to focus on retention of our officers and looking at their pay and do an extensive study to find out where exactly they are. The second one's going to be truck traffic. With all the development that's occurring along our border over in Ontario, we need to sit down with our other counterparts, our elected officials, to start developing truck routes where we can put trucks on certain streets and then put our residents on other streets so they don't have to deal with the impacts that's coming. And this is something that we need to move on because it's not going away. Our third one is going to be our maintenance of our streets. We did adopt a software to look at what standard we'd like to keep up with the city, and it's something that we're going to be implementing. And obviously, it's long overdue. We really haven't maintained our streets in the way we should, and this is something that is crucial if we want to keep the type of lifestyles for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bashara.
My top 3 issues are transportation and traffic infrastructure improvement. I would like to acquire additional state and federal fundings to complete projects that has been shelved over the years, and improve traffic through signal timing. Second topic is affordable housing. We definitely need to increase the units or the numbers of affordable housing and find different alternative affordable housing and temporary affordable housing through Section 8 vouchers that for existing residents that can help and prevent homelessness as a preventive measure instead of a reactive measure of trying to deal with existing homelessness only. Also, the third is local jobs. I would like to attract businesses that will cater to the career demographics of City of Chino, and that will provide promote work in Chino, live in Chino.
Thank you. Good job, everyone. We're off to a good start on the timing. The second question, we will start with Mr. Roscoe. And the question is, what is your experience as it relates to the city of Chino and other related experiences that make you the best candidate?
Still. As I shared, I was previously a school board member and served for 3 terms from 2006 to 2018. I currently serve on the San Bernardino County Civil Service Commission. And in the past, I also served on the Baldy View ROP Commission. I served on the San Bernardino County School Boards Association, California School Boards delegate for our region. And so I have a solid background of governance, and I believe that's what makes me the perfect candidate.
Great, thank you. Mr. Marquez?
Same question?
Yes.
Okay. My experience in the city of Chino, I've lived here for 16 years, and the relationships that I've made with business owners and with people who live in the community has allowed me the opportunity to really connect with my neighbors in the city and be accessible to them and approachable, to listen to their problems. And in this role, as I began my campaign, I started off networking with my neighbors and trying to really see what's going on in the community. My experience in the Community Services Commission has really helped me out to create that relationship with city staff, with Community Services Department, Public Works, the Police Department, the Fire Department, and really appreciate the people who serve in our community. And as a council member, we're here to support our city departments and also let them know that they're doing a great job serving the residents of Chino. But as a connector in the community, I feel I'm the best candidate because I have a lot of experience through dealing with problems in the community, through my law enforcement experience, and through my education in public administration and public policy.
Thank you. Mr. Burton?
I've got intimate knowledge of the city as a Chino police officer. As I said, I was here for over 30 years. I know exactly where we've been, I know where we're at now, and I have a vision for the future. As I said previously, I was a Chino volunteer. I'm currently a Chino planning commissioner. I have a very good, solid idea of what our building needs are in the city. Community involvement, I was very involved with the Chino Valley YMCA as a counselor, director, and board member. As a founding member of the Chino Youth Accountability Board, Chino American Little League board member. Been an announcer for the City of Chino Youth Christmas Parade, volunteer recognition dinner, youth boxing events, volunteer at You Choose Back to School giveaways, food giveaways, Run for Russ, committee member to raise money for Chino youth and their families, food drives for Chino seniors and families. I piloted the school resource officer program, placing uniformed police officers on the high school campuses, partnering with the Chino Police Department and the Chino Valley Unified School District.
Thank you. Mr. Lucio?
Well, I think the thing that makes me the best candidate is I keep my word. 4 years ago when I ran, I said I wasn't going to rezone anything based on what a developer wanted. I've stayed firm to that. We've had developers that wanted to develop land and change the zoning from commercial to industrial along Pine Avenue and Euclid Avenue. I've stayed firm, we're not going to do that. I've listened to the residents in the preserve. They wanted a second school. I was instrumental with Councilwoman Comstock to get the Lewis Group and the school board together. And now we have a second school going in and it should be opening in 2024. I've held developers accountable. When the FedEx project went in, I was the only one that voted against it. But I made sure that in looking at what was proposed, there wasn't enough infrastructure there to support the amount of truck traffic that was going through there. So I ended up getting an additional $5 million. I also, along with Councilmember Hargrove, we insisted that whatever cargo was being moved around in the facility was going to be moved with electric trucks, because we knew that the impact of the environment, especially close to a school like Cal Aero, was going to be impactful. So I think based on my track record, I think that makes me the best candidate.
Mr. Bouchara.
What makes me the best candidate for the position is my knowledge, experience in city planning and in city planning and development, as well as transportation engineering. I'm an excellent listener to my community, and that will allow me to detect problems early and react to them to prevent problems from happening instead of waiting for to see developments happen, then discover the problem that I see it late, and try to find countermeasures for existing problems. I would like to be able to prevent problems from the beginning, and find innovative solutions for it. As an engineer, I'm a problem solver. Yeah.
Thank you. So now we'll move on to the third question. We'll start. Oh, I'm sorry, I got confused. Sorry, Mr. Wu. Tell us how experienced you are.
My academic training was accounting and the public administration. Although I have not served in the public arena before, but my interest is always serving the public. The uniqueness, the population combination in my district is qualifies me to be a liaison, communicator, and association with a lot of my ethnic neighbors. It will do a much better job to communicate from the city hall to the residents, and I think that make me uniquely qualified for the job. Thank you.
Okay, now we will move on to the third question. We'll start with Mr. Marquez this time. And the question is, what is your opinion on entering into an agreement for building a new civic center?
A lot of concerns with the new Civic Center master plan. I've talked to my neighbors here in the city, and I believe that the pulse of the city, they do want a civic center. We want a cultural arts center. We want a performing arts center. We want these things as a community. And when we look at funding, that's going to be the main concern. And most of the residents here in the city that I've spoken to do not agree with the tax increase. The timing, I believe, is at issue. The timing of the new Civic Center development is going to take a very long time, and the increased cost of supplies and demand for manpower I foresee it dragging on further than expected, and it's going to cost more than expected. I've done my research, and I think that there are other facilities that we can rehabilitate. One of the locations I was also looking into was the Chafee building next door. I think we need to re-examine the agreement that we have with Chafee College and really determine if that serves as a public benefit, or can we repurpose that building for other uses, for a civic center or cultural arts center or art center. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burton.
Sorry about that. I think I do support getting a new civic center. This civic center was originally built back in 1975, so it's definitely starting to show its age. We moved out of the police department because we were bursting at the seams, and we moved from that location up to the current location about 10 years ago, just because of the building, the nature of the building, and the problems that we had with it. As far as tax increases, like Mr. Marquez had mentioned, I haven't met anybody that supports that. But we do need a new civic center to be able to accommodate the growth that the city's going through. And the sooner that we can get that done, the better. I don't know that I agree with the phases that have been proposed, but I definitely support the plan itself.
Mr. Lucio.
Yes, we've had many workshops regarding the Civic Center. And there is a lot of residents that do want a new Civic Center. They do want the new amenities. They want a larger senior center, a larger library. But it costs money. And at the end of the day, you know, nobody up here can make that decision whether or not we're gonna pass that tax initiative. That's something that's gonna have to go to the voters. I do support putting something together, putting it in front of the voters. If the voters decide that that's something that they wanna do, I fully support it. I know as a city, especially a city that of now, you know, we're gonna be up at over 100,000 people, and then shortly with the growth in the preserve and maybe annexations of some of the areas in the unincorporated areas, we'll be well over 100,000 people. Can we maintain what we have with the current conditions and the buildings that we have now? Probably not. But it's definitely something that I think the voters need to make that decision. I do support it, though. I do believe that we need it, but I'll stand behind whatever the voters decide. Thank you.
Mr. Bouchard.
I definitely support the idea of building a new civic center. It's definitely needed for the city, but nobody likes the tax increase. So we can look for alternative fundings from this to fund it, similar to what happened with Griffith Observatory or other art centers that is funded by donations and grants funded. Therefore, that could be an alternative to finding the funding instead of the tax increase, and will provide the city residents with what they need. Therefore, I support it if all of the city residents support it.
Thank you. Mr. Wu.
I like the idea have a new civic center to serve a broader, more population that's increasing for the city from the city, but their degree of urgency. There are many competing projects, ideas. The competing with the same part of available fund to build, and we need to open up a more discussion with the broader audience, the residents, to further discussion, see what is the grade of urgency we should give to each project, and to let the residents decide whether which projects is important, should it go forward first, a civic center should be going forward first, or should we fix the road first, or fix the traffic first. That they're competing interests, so we need to discuss further to determine that. Thank you.
Mr. Roscoe.
As presented, I could not support it at this particular time. The funding is one of the major issues, and so the conversation is to have it funded with a sales tax. I think with us just coming out of a pandemic, people are just now recouping from the financial burdens that they've experienced because of the pandemic. Gas prices are extremely high, and so to add another tax increase to our residents, I think is not good at this particular time. The timeline, the handout that was given to or provided to the candidates does not have a timeline, and so I'm just going by what was reported. The timeline is 30 to 40 years, which seems extremely long. Another thing is the new Performing Arts Center. Chino High has a brand new Performing Arts Center, and it was my understanding that prior to the school board passing the bond, the school district actually approached the city about a type of joint use. Perhaps that could be explored. And then my next question is, was there any consideration to revitalize or versus rebuilding? And finally, the general plan calls
Time's
for...
up. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question, and we will start with you, Mr. Burton. The question is, how important is public safety and infrastructure, and how will you go about providing funding and/or support for those initiatives?
As I mentioned a few moments ago, public safety is one of the top 3 issues in the city. We need to make sure that we're supporting our officers. There's a serious issue with the retention level at this point in time with these officers because of their pay and benefits. They need to be brought up to a reasonable level. I'm not saying that they need to be at the top of the survey cities, but they certainly need to be brought up to a reasonable level with the types of things that we expect them to be doing out there, and they're doing an incredible job. They always have. We have probably the best police department in this entire valley, and I think that they need to be compensated for that. As far as our infrastructure is concerned, I mentioned that as well as one of our top issues. We need to make sure that we're in there creating solid, sustainable roadways, transportation issues, and so on. And I appreciate the red card. Thank you.
Mr. Lucio.
Okay, so public safety and infrastructure, how do we fund it? Well, I think we need to change our mentality. So right now in the city, we haven't really started focusing on what can we do to start making money as a city. So one of the things that we're currently looking at, and obviously it's going to take an ordinance change, is creating billboards along the freeway to generate money. We know that some of the billboards could generate up to about $1 million a year for the city. So we're currently looking at maybe putting a billboard up on the 60 freeway, potentially another one on the 71 freeway. Those have been money generators for many, many cities, and I think we've been missing the boat on that. Some of the other things that we're looking at is potentially, we know that van and truck storage is something that's needed throughout this whole region. To maybe potentially utilize some of our land that we currently have, develop it ourselves, and then lease it out to a company. And that can generate, upwards of $1 million a year as well. So I think we need to start looking at it as a city, start gaining some assets that actually make money, so that way we can start funding some of these projects like our roads, our streets, and our police department. Thank you.
Mr. Bouchard.
To improve public safety and infrastructure, I would like to find alternative fundings to bring the police department to a full-time operating budget through state grants and through state and federal grants for public safety and for transportation infrastructure that will cover public safety as well. That will provide them the infrastructure for the police department to increase public safety. Also, to provide funding for additional substations that will improve the response time.
Thank you. Mr. Wu.
Public safety and infrastructure those are pressing issues. And what's realistically what we can do is looking into our own budget, re-examine, repurpose the budget to make it work immediately instead of, definitely we need looking for more fundings for it, but the immediate concern it should be we reconsider the budget to see if there's more money could be moved from the, for instance, the reserve fund. Do we need that much reserve fund in the budget? Could we use some of it to fund the police department? Those are immediate resolve could be done. That's it.
Ms. Roscoe.
So with public safety, I want to reiterate some of the comments that were made earlier. First of all, our police department is by far above excellent. They are extremely, they're just great. And because of that, not only because of that, but we have to provide our police the resources that they need to keep us safe. Retention, and that's the part that I'm kind of piggyback, is important to our department. Actually, it's important to it's critical to any organization, retention, because you're dealing with the experience. As far as, I'm trying to go quick, as far as infrastructure, I want to talk about the reserve fund. The reserve fund, we need to know that reserves are one-time monies, and you can only use it for one-time expenses. So you can't use it on ongoing expenses. But federal grants, state grants, we need to look at all options. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Marquez.
Thank you. First off, I want to say I'm very proud of our Chino Police Department. That's one of the main reasons why I moved to the city of Chino as opposed to a sheriff's area. No offense to the sheriff's department. But all of our city departments do a great job in keeping our city safe, and streets are part of that safety plan. Now, the two major sources of funding for police and infrastructure projects come from sales tax and property tax. So the way I would approach supporting the funding of these projects and increase our budgets is to support our local businesses. And I really appreciate what Zeb Wellborn and the entire Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce have done with workforce development and utilizing the funds that they got to support hiring local and supporting local businesses. I think that's very important. So we need to change the way the city of Chino thinks and keep that money here in Chino. We need to hire local, we need to shop local, and we need to support and make people understand or show people how important it is to keep our money here in Chino, because it does benefit our roads, it does benefit these projects and our police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so speaking of business, we're going on to our fifth question, and we'll start with Mr. Lucio. And this question is, our business community has been through a lot, haven't we all, over the last few years? How do you plan to support, invigorate local businesses as a council member?
Well, first of all, I think some of the things that we're currently doing right now is we've met with a lot of our business owners, especially business owners that are trying to expand their businesses. And we're trying to streamline some of the issues that they're having. Some of the ordinances that we have are a little outdated. I'll give you an example. There was a commercial area that was going to be developed inside College Park. We were requiring the developer to do a lot of improvements that were off-site from what he was developing. And I think that was because we had rules in place that required the city to make those developers make those improvements. But as a council, we looked at it and we felt that it was unfair, and we overlooked or we didn't follow those ordinances to make sure that they could develop their property and do it within budget for them so that they can deliver a product here in the city, one that's long overdue. So I think it's a matter of us meeting business owners, talking to them, seeing what their needs are, and seeing what we can do to streamline what they're currently going through so that they can be successful and continue to do business here in Chino.
Thank you. Mr. Bouchard.
I would like the city to develop a partnership program with local businesses where the city will listen to local businesses and how they would like to grow their businesses and their ideas. Also, what the city can help them with. For example, local businesses, if they would like to create events, close the streets, and gatherings that will drive businesses up. Especially during a few weeks or in the weekends, the city will work with them to provide them permits. Also, involve the businesses on how the city develops future businesses, and what the businesses would like to do, and what they would like to see in the future from the city. Partnership program will be the most ideal if we create sessions, organize sessions where we actually listen to our businesses and act on those ideas.
Thank you. Mr. Wu?
To further develop the business in the city, one of the ways to do is to utilize the current infrastructure, available spaces, to pick and choose a higher value-added business to come to the area. And that way we can increase the tax income for the city to be used. And high value-added industries, high value-added businesses is critical to further develop the business. Current business level could be elevated by doing such thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Roscoe?
Well, I think one of the things that I heard quite a bit was in regards to streamlining permit requirements. And once things were, they met requirements, they would go back to the city and they would find that there was something else missing. And so I think that streamlining the permit barriers, revising ordinance, and also being business friendly. People don't feel that we are business friendly, and I think that we need to make sure that we approach our businesses, talk to them, see what they need, and people who are applying, see how we can walk them through it. If there's any way that we can offer incentives, let's find out, see if we can do it. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marquez.
I would like to elaborate a little bit more on the Chino Valley, the Upskill Chino Valley. I think that's a great resource for our entire city, for the business community, as well as for council. They're focusing on workforce development, job referrals and placement, services for youth, entrepreneurship development, economic development, and leadership development. So all of these skills are helping business owners who are, whether they're new and beginning their entrepreneurship journey and starting their business, or it's continuing their business in this very different market after the pandemic. I think that's a great resource. And as a city, as council members, we should promote that Upskill Chino Valley to all residents throughout the Chino Valley, because if we support our businesses, then that will benefit our entire community as well as our income to the city.
Thank you. Mr. Burton.
As far as reinvigorating businesses, I know that we have the city has an economic development division that is currently working on doing just that. I know they attend conferences and trade shows regionally, as well as going out of state to try to bring a lot of these businesses into our town. When you talk about reinvigorating and you look at some of the areas, specifically on the north side of town, it's difficult to get those reinvigorated when you can't get the property owners to come to the table to work with you. I think that needs to be addressed immediately, and if that doesn't happen, there's not a whole lot of reinvigoration that can go on in those specific areas. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to the next question. We'll start with Mr. Bashara. The city of Chino has a diverse mix of residents from diverse backgrounds. How do you view diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how do you view your role in advancing those goals?
Definitely, the city has a great amount of diversity, from cultural background to career backgrounds. One of the areas of diversity that I would like to address is the career diversity. I would like to attract businesses to the city of Chino that caters to the career demographic of Chino. That will help promote the program of working in Chino, living in Chino, and it will also elevate relieve traffic and provide more affordable housing, because currently most of the warehouses that are the majority of the businesses in Chino do not cater to the career demographic in Chino, who are mostly professionals that have to commute outside of Chino for work. Warehouses workers cannot afford to live in Chino currently, so would like to provide more affordable housing for them to be able to live and work in Chino.
Thank you. Mr. Wu, same question.
The district I live in obviously has a lot of newcomers. And ethnicity diversity is very obvious to everyone. And because I'm bilingual Chinese, so I am able to communicate with a lot of newcomers come to the area. I understand their needs, understand their concerns. I can communicate with the city hall much easier and more direct, instead of a lot of requests being ignored over past few years from what I get her. Thank you.
Mr. Roscoe.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
The city of Chino has a diverse mix of residents from diverse backgrounds. How do you view diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how do you view your role in advancing those goals?
I think going out to the community and speaking to our residents, having pop-ups and welcoming the residents, I think that is huge, in getting to know who we are representing. the city does a great job in having different cultural activities, and I applaud them on that. So let's expand on it. But I think the biggest thing is to go out and meet our residents so that we understand the cultural backgrounds. I've had, I'm looking at the card. I've had the opportunity to be on the school board, which we have to be inclusive of everyone. That's what we should do as a person, period. But as a counselor, I think it's important for us to go out and meet our public, our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marquez.
As a community services commissioner in the city for the past 3 years, I've had the experience to see firsthand what a great job our community services division does in the city of Chino by providing family events such as the Cultural Palooza, the concerts in the park, with collaboration with Kiwanis and other service groups, Rotary. We do our Veterans Day events and the Chino Derby. Those are just a few of the events. But what those provide is a sense of belonging for our residents, a place where people could come together, meet their neighbors, say hello, and enjoy some good entertainment and food, and really network with their neighbors. I think that sense of belonging is something that we can promote as council members by being in touch with our neighbors in our districts and throughout the city. Like I mentioned in the beginning, my goal is to bring council back to the people and not have this separation where we're just an entity having meetings and creating policy. We're out there connecting with the community. We're approachable, we're accessible, and we're promoting the great things that this city has to offer. Thank you.
Mr. Burton.
Our city has a tremendous community services program, and they are doing an incredible job culturally speaking to reach out to those folks that are moving into our areas. And I think right now with the amount of services that we provide and the entertainment area, the concerts in the park, the movie nights, all those are tremendous activities to bring people together as one people right here to become a Chinoan. I think that we're doing a great job right now, and I think it's up to our council to get into the neighborhoods to make sure that the people understand what services we have available.
Thank you. And Mr. Lucio.
Well, I think that's what districting did. If you look at 4 years ago when I ran, my district was 70% Hispanic. Now that the district's changed, it's 44% Asian. So what do? We do as a council person. This past Sunday, I went and I spoke in front of a Korean church. It's imperative upon the city council to sit there and meet with the constituents. And they hold us responsible. I mean, we represent them, so that we have to go out there and we have to meet them. We have to make them feel welcome. So I think one of the most important things that we can do is actually go out to the churches that cater to these particular ethnic groups and let them know. I mean, obviously some are not going to speak our language, but there'll be people there that can translate. But I think if you show people that you're interested in them and that they are valuable in our city, I think that's what's going to make us grow. I think we should also continue to do more things within their neighborhoods. I think we should do more than just one event. We have concerts in the park here downtown, but we only have one in the preserve. We should be having more events down in the preserve because they're our major part of our city that's growing down there, and we need to also include them. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will swing back over to Mr. Wu to start us off with the next question, or the next series of answers, I should say. Being a city council member requires time and commitment. Can you speak to the commitment you will have as a Chino City Council member?
The short answer is yes. The long answer would be I mostly work from home, so I'm 100% of the time spent in the community with my neighbors, talking to everybody that need to be ask me questions. I'm constantly on the WeChat group with my neighbors, and I devote my time to assist them any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Orozco.
I will commit all the time that's necessary to be an effective and thoughtful council person. And while I was on the school board, we represented 3 cities, Chino, Chino Hills, and South Ontario. And I committed the time that was necessary to represent all our schools. So to be able to represent the city council would be no problem. I have all the time that was necessary to commit. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. Being a city council member requires time and commitment. Can you speak to the commitment you will have as a Chino City Council member?
I understand that the dedication and commitment that is required of our council members, from attending meetings to reading the agenda packets that could be hundreds of pages long, as well as the workshops and attending community events. And I'm very committed to this position. I've spoken with my wife and my children. They understand the commitment that I will have as a future council member in the city. I've dedicated myself to my campaign and meeting my neighbors and preparing myself for this position. And I've also even adjusted my work schedule so that I have the weekdays off so I could attend meetings. And it's very important to me. This position, I've worked very hard. I put a lot of my time, effort, and dedication. I'm very passionate about serving my community. And I want my neighbors in Chino to know that I'm dedicated and committed and ready to serve in this position. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burton.
Having served this community now for nearly 40 years, I think I've proven that I am dedicated to the effort of spending the time necessary to get the job done. I'm retired. My kids are grown, and I have a lot of time to spend being an effective council person. Thank you.
I think being in law enforcement for 26 years and knowing being able to meet with the community on a regular basis, I think that has only prepared me. I make time to meet with the residents. I make time to meet with our business owners, especially business owners that are having problems getting projects approved. I have time to meet with, we have regular meetings, infrastructure, finance committee meetings. So I've already done this for 4 years. So my level of dedication has already been proven. Nobody that's ever emailed me and said, "Hey, I want to meet with you," that I've never actually met with. So I think I've already shown the dedication. It's a lot more than a lot of people think. It's a lot of events that you have to attend, but you have to have the support system at home. I think my wife is probably my biggest supporter, my biggest cheerleader. We take whenever we go to the events on the weekend, we bring our kids. And our kids have literally grown here. My son was born during the election in 2018. We've had one more since then, and you'll see him. If you ever come to the events, you'll see me and my kids and the family, and that's our dedication. This is our home. That's all.
Mr. Bouchard.
I'm definitely dedicated to meeting my residents' needs. I'm going to attend every community meeting to listen to the residents, and it's an opportunity to meet the residents at every community meeting. Also, my schedule is very available and flexible. I have a Friday off and a weekend every other week. I have a Friday off, 3-day weekend. Other week I have 2-day weekend where I'm available to listen to my residents. My phone is going to be public, my cell phone, my email as well, and I'm going to make it a point to at least knock on every door in my district at least twice a year to ask if there's any need for any special concerns or what my residents need. Currently, I'm doing that during my campaign right now, and I'm willing to do it throughout the year, at least twice a year. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will move on to the next question now, and we will have Ms. Orozco lead us off. Question is, what is the role of the Chino City Council on issues related to homelessness and mental health?
Well, first, we have to understand that it is not a crime to be homeless. It's a most unfortunate circumstance. And it's not specific to Chino, it's a regional issue. As a matter of fact, as I was looking up information, California is the highest homeless population. But I've learned that the city of Chino is doing a really good job by taking a proactive approach. The police department works with an organization named the SWAG. The police department has also worked with San Bernardino County Sheriff's HOPE program. And the goal is to help those without homes to move towards sufficiency. It's important for the city to look to and acquire available resources, whether they come from the county, state grants, to continue on this preventative path, or proactive path, I'm sorry. And then let's not forget to take advantage of resources that are here in our back door. And that is, for instance, the HOPE program with the school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marquez.
My role as a council member would be to support our local nonprofits, our faith-based community, and also who support homeless and mental health. Some of the organizations that I've been involved with are the Chino Neighborhood House, and also supporting Isaiah's Rock Christian Fellowship. I think it's important to support homelessness and mental health. On my platform, I plan on forming a collaborative with local, county, state, and our faith-based community as well to find a location to have a quarterly resource event, to bring resources and representatives to the city to help these individuals who are suffering from behavioral health disorders and homelessness. There are options out there. There are resources out there to support our veterans, our seniors, our homeless, and our role is to be connectors in the community to those resources, look for sources of funding and locations. Like I had mentioned briefly before, looking at locations such as the Chafee buildings right down the street or the old bank and next door, and utilizing those businesses, those locations for services.
Thank you. Mr. Burton.
Our role as the city council is to support the efforts of our local police department and make sure that they have everything that they need in order to go out and be positive with our homeless population. Right now, there's a quality of life team that our police department currently has that's comprised of police officers, mental health professionals, as well as folks that can provide resources. They're out there daily. They need to be out there daily. They need to be evaluating mental health officials need to be evaluating the homeless folks to make sure that they're getting everything that they need. As mentioned before, homelessness it's not a crime. You can't take somebody to jail because they want to be homeless, but you can go out there, make those contacts, and provide those resources necessary for them to be sustained out in the community.
Mr. Lucio.
Yes, my role as a city council member is basically to help facilitate the needs of our police department. We do have a swag program that goes out there and contacts people. We do a great job in certain things, but there's certain things that we're lacking. So as a council person, we got to go out and we got to look at other cities that have addressed this issue and have been successful. One of the things we have done is we went to Lake Elsinore. Lake Elsinore has a great program. They have a transitional housing program that basically they'll take people that are on drugs and try to take them off drugs by putting them in the transitional house. But they know that they fail, so they keep giving them continuous chances to the point where eventually they get off drugs, and they claim they have something like a 90% success rate. So I think that's something that we need to look at here is some sort of transitional housing, so that when we go and we take these people that are on the street, we got to be able to say we have a bed for them. If we say we don't have a bed for them, then we can't take them off the street. So one thing that we have to do is, one, we got to support them with money, with services, with everything that they need. But two, we need to also be able to look at other cities that have addressed this issue, that have been successful, and then we need to make that model here to be successful. Thank you.
Mr. Bouchard.
Working for the city of Los Angeles under Mayor Eric Garcetti's homelessness program, I was able to identify some efficiencies in one of California's largest cities program that mainly focused in reactive solutions, not preventative solutions. We all agree that preventative medicine is more important than reactive medicine. Most of the existing programs, they only react to an existing problem, where the solution is only temporary. I would like to work more towards a preventative program where preventing homelessness to begin with, where Section 8 programs or vouchers and temporary rental assistance by the city is provided to especially families with kids to prevent from getting to the point of homelessness. Also, social service program information to those residents regarding temporary food stamps and other government programs.
Thank you. And back over to you, Mr. Wu.
Well, the homelessness issue has been around for many years, and it's not going to be resolved in a short period of time either. So, as a council member, the only primary goal is to provide the support for the professional to do their jobs, support their programs financially, morally, and provide any necessaries to allow them to do their job, professional to finish their job. That's all we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, since Mr. Marquez kind of stole our thunder earlier on this, it's only fitting that he'll start us off with this one. The Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce is working on initiatives around workforce development, leadership development, entrepreneurship development, economic development through their Upskill Chino Valley program. Which initiative is the most important to you, and how do you see the city supporting Upskill Chino Valley?
I believe the first part of that question was what I value the most. I think the youth development program and the leadership programs, I think involving our youth in these programs and showing them how to be professionals and how to practice that deliberate professionalism is important. They have the opportunity to meet entrepreneurs who have businesses and business owners in the city and learn those skills and abilities so that they can learn at a young age how to be leaders, how to sell products, how to conduct business. As a council member, I think it's very important to educate people, educate our youth, even educate entrepreneurs or people moving into the city to connect them with this program, to connect them with our Chino Valley Chamber. They're doing a great job. They're very well funded right now with the support from our local politicians. So I think as a council member, that's something that we could brag about as a city to promote that opportunity to our youth, our entrepreneurs, even our seniors, our veterans, and help people start their businesses in the city.
Mr. Burton.
I believe it's the mentorship of our youth. They desperately need help right now. A lot of their parents are out of work still and are not able to teach them what they need to be doing as far as going out and getting jobs. This Upskill Chino Valley that our Chamber of Commerce has started is a tremendous program. I think the resources could also involve the city of Chino as well as the Chino Unified School District to get some of that training involved in those areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lucio.
Looking at all those components, I think one of the most valuable things that we continue to miss as a society is teaching our kids a trade. We're never going to get away from needing plumbers, electricians, masoneries. I think it's important that we start teaching that. We go back into the high schools and start teaching that, whether it's an ROP program or some sort of class after school. But then I think we as a city can join in with and allow them to do some internships with our city. Water is another major thing that they need to learn. So I think we've failed in training our kids. Not every kid is meant to go to college, and that's okay. But they can make a great living as long as they know a trade, and I think that's something that we need to teach. We need to teach these kids trades, and then also they can piggyback off of entrepreneurship. Once they know a trade and they're successful and they know how to make money and bid jobs, then they can go into business for themselves. But I think the main thing you need to learn is teach these kids how to make money and how to make a living. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bouchard.
Informative career education is very important in collaboration with local businesses and the economic development team from the department from the city. We can develop internships from the city and from local businesses by incentivizing local businesses to provide paid internships to students, teach them career, to teach them business entrepreneurship. While these businesses will provide internships, they will be incentivized by the city for reduction of small percentage of taxes or other waiver of permit fees or any other type of incentive that the city can provide to local businesses to provide paid internship programs where youth is not just able to work only to earn money, but they will actually be learning a trade or a career.
Thank you. Mr. Wu.
Well, this city is very blessed with the existing facility and the capability. We have a Civic college in town, and the city could work with the college to set up a training programs specifically for various trades that's skill sets that's needed for the society. Also, on the other end, the city could do is encourage new business comers that encourage them to hire locally more often than bring an outsider to the town, and encourage the entrepreneurs to hire the local people. But also at the same time, we have to provide the skill set that they're needed for their business. So those are multifaceted efforts. It could be work. It will take us some time, but it will work if we have to keep the mindset correct. Thank you.
Mr. Roscoe.
So I believe that mentoring our youth is extremely important. I remember speaking to a business owner who shared that many of the young adults that applied for the job, were not prepared. We're simply not prepared. And so I believe that we need to mentor our youth and teaching them how to go out and look for jobs, how to be productive. I think it's important that Mr. Lucio is absolutely right. College is not for everyone. And so there has to be the trades that are available to our youth. ROP provided a great path for those who were looking into different trades. So definitely mentoring our youth.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Marquez. Did you start us off this time? My apologies. We're on to the, yeah, you just want to answer the same thing again? Mr. Burton, you will start us off. And the question is, do you support broadband for all? Why or why not?
I do support it. I think it's very, very important to get it throughout the city, to the businesses, to the schools. The issue comes up with how it's going to be funded. Somebody needs to figure out where that money is going to come from, whether it be individual businesses, grants, through city sources. But I do support it, and it's definitely an issue that needs to be discussed as far as funding is concerned.
Thank you. Mr. Lucio.
I also support broadband. As you know, everything's done on the internet now. Not being able to have the internet is obviously a disadvantage for a lot of people. So you got some kids that have to go to libraries or somewhere that have free Wi-Fi, free internet. So I think having it citywide would be great. But again, the cost, who's going to pay for it, how we're going to pay for it. I know there's talks that the county may come up with a solution of being able to provide broadband for the whole county. At this point, it's just talk. I haven't seen anything concrete as how they're going to move forward with that. But obviously, we would be supportive of it. I mean, if it's something that we can sustain and afford, of course, I would be 100% behind it. But at what cost? So if it's something that we can afford, sure. If it's something that we need to make, look for grants or some sort of funding for it, then that's something that definitely I believe the city is going to be interested in doing, because obviously education is what makes people on an even playing field. So not having broadband puts people at a disadvantage. Thank you.
Mr. Bashar.
I definitely support Broadband for All, being one of the engineers who is currently working on the Broadband for All under the state of California. The cost for the Broadband for All is provided under state and federal grants currently. In addition to providing it for the city, I believe another program should be provided temporarily until Broadband for All is provided. There should be another grant that's developed to provide free broadband for existing people who cannot afford it, other than just subsidizing it. It should be free until the program is fully constructed and fully developed, delivered.
Mr. Wu.
At this state of age, broadband, should we have a broadband? Shouldn't even be a question. The broadband, real question would be, should we have extreme speed broadband? The extreme speed broadband will probably attract a more high-end business to come to town to utilize the facility that we provide. In turn, these new business will bring more revenues to the city. Very likely, it would cover the cost of it, a majority of it. So we have to think of broadly. How do we pay for it? Get the money from the business is the only way to do it. You attracted a more high-tech business come to town, and that's how you get pay for it. Thank you.
Mr. Roscoe.
Broadband for All program is a statewide program to give all Californians access to Wi-Fi, wired or wireless. So would I support it? Absolutely.
Thank you. Now we can go to Mr. Marquez.
This same question was asked at the candidate forum 4 years ago, and so far nothing else has changed as far in the city of Chino that I've noticed or been aware of. I have researched this issue, and there's an interactive map that the state has for low cost and no cost internet in our city. You simply Google the zip code and it'll show you what programs are available and the service providers. There's also state grants available. And as a council member, our job is to ask questions and find out, why is this not happening in our city? I researched San Diego, and the city of San Diego actually loans out laptops and hotspots. In recent times, over 400 laptops and hotspots were loaned out to residents. So when we look at policy, we look at budgets, we can examine, why does a city have that service or amenity, and why don't we have it here, and how can we get it? How did they fund it? Those are questions that need to be asked. As a council member, I will do my best to promote these programs, and I do support internet and internet access, and also laptops for people who qualify for those programs. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lucio, you'll kick us off with the next one. The question is, should the city increase areas for fast charging of all makes of electric vehicles? Should they purchase electric vehicles for city and police vehicles over time? Why not?
Well, you know, I have an electric car, and that is something that I've talked to some of their city managers in the past. I think we do need to come up with some charging stations for people to utilize. It is expensive to charge at home. I think the big push that we currently have right now is by 2035, we want all the vehicles to be electric. So we need to start laying down this infrastructure now. We need to look to see if there's some grants available to help us pay for it. One of the biggest pushes that they're going to have is going to be in the Salton Sea. The big push is that there's a big concentration of lithium, the biggest in the world. So they think that that's going to be the next economic boom here in California, is going to be the development of lithium batteries and the mining of them, and then the building of them, so that they're all going to be made here within California. And so this is coming, and this is what the big push is for. They want us as a state to basically sustain what they want to do over in the Salton Sea, and then be a model for the rest of the country and the world. So I think it's important that we start looking at doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bouchard.
I definitely support the increase of charging stations because there is a need for it, especially fast charging stations. But as in terms of purchasing for police vehicles, I supported for non-emergency police vehicles as far as detectives and none other emergency responses. For police and for emergency responding, it doesn't work with the current technology and the current level of the electrical vehicles. Therefore, I don't support it for patrol vehicles.
Mr. Wu?
Well, electrification for the vehicles is going to way of life these days, so it should not even become a debate. That's the way it goes. But the other question should be, how do we secure the power supply for all the increased vehicles' needs? That should be addressed more carefully and thoughtfully. In the hot weather comes and every air conditioning is full blast, the vehicle needs a charge, are we going to have a rolling blackout? That should be a concern discussion, not just the charging station. Charging station should be already there if I had the choice. Thank you.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes, absolutely. We should be looking at having charging stations throughout the city. As Mr. Lucio pointed out, in 2035, we're supposed to have all vehicles electrical. So seeing that that is the case, we need to start laying out the infrastructure to accommodate that.
Mr. Marquez?
I think this is a unique situation in which the state has created an unfunded mandate to require charging stations in our city. I think that in order to retain local control over our own budget and our own infrastructure projects, I think we need to, this is going to take further consideration of whether these funds should be allocated towards charging stations and see what the cost benefit analysis is to surrounding cities, you know, our neighboring cities within the county and the state, and find funding sources. That's always going to be the main concern, is how are we going to pay for it? So we can want something, and we have to understand that how the priorities in the city. I think that that is a concern, and I think we need to start doing our research and preparing for this mandate. At this time, I disagree. I don't think we should provide this service.
Mr. Burton?
I do think we need to be thinking about putting these charging stations up throughout the city. We need to think about it now so that we're prepared for it when that time comes. As we come through and we build up our infrastructure, that definitely needs to be considered. Do I think that it's going to be beneficial for our police cars to be electric? Absolutely not. Sometimes our police cars will go into pursuits after working an entire shift and go miles and miles and miles. It definitely would not be effective. So I would not recommend our police vehicles be electric.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the next question. We will start with Mr. Bashara. How big of a priority do you place on street lighting, speed bumps, sidewalks, and/or street repair? Please explain.
They are part of. They are definitely a huge part of the infrastructure needed for our city. Street lighting is very important, not just for traffic safety. It's very important for public safety as well. It reduces crimes and it improves public safety. Speed bumps, if they are warranted, if they're needed and warranted, I will support it. If they definitely need to be studied and need to be warranted. Other infrastructure projects are definitely needed for the city of Chino. The city of Chino is falling behind in a lot of infrastructure improvements due to funding. That funding could be definitely achieved by state and federal grants to assist in improving traffic safety.
Thank you. Mr. Wu.
Speaking from my district, where I live, Talking to a lot of my neighbors, they all saying that speed bump is a very, very important thing to have. Due to some reason, people living in the area just zoom around the small streets and dangerously, and accident happens too often. I've seen vehicle ran into a retainer walls not too long ago. And just that is the number one should be priority for speed bumps. Number two, our preserve area has some streets still have not finished the pavement yet. For after 4 or 5 years, the construction finished. That should be the number two priority. Number three will be the lighting. Lighting is okay, but lights went out, they're not being replaced in time. Those are the priorities. I think it's important. Thank you.
Mr. Roscoe?
I believe they're all priorities. I think they're all important. Residents want their roads maintained, not only in their neighborhoods, but also in the main streets. But the neighborhoods especially, as I shared earlier, the one gentleman who shared with me about his street being prepped for resurfacing a year ago. So we need to make sure that we follow through with what we're doing. It's unacceptable to have started something and not finish it after a whole year. Speed bumps are extremely important. I live in a cul-de-sac that when you come out, you've got to come out very slowly because it curves around. And there's been several times that there have been close calls, so to speak. So I think they are all priority for our residents.
Thank you. Mr. Marquez?
I believe our streets, our lighting, and also speed bumps are also a priority for our residents here in the city. I've spoken to a lot of my neighbors in the district, and they have concerns with people speeding down their streets, lighting conditions, signage issues, as well as the alligator cracking in their streets, the edging on the curbs being weathered away. And council recently responded with a purchase of a pavement management software program, and they conducted a comprehensive survey of the condition of our streets in the city. And I would recommend forming a pavement management commission so we could prioritize some of these projects and give recommendations to council, our city planning and public works, so that they get an understanding of what actual problems are occurring in the city. I've talked to neighbors who don't have any ADA ramps on their streets. There's issues with the ADA ramps. Our city council is very aware of that, and something needs to be done. And I applaud council for the new pavement management software, but we need to get citizens more involved, and I believe a commission would be an effective way to get that started. Thank you.
Thank you. You're next, Mr. Burton.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. How big of a priority do you place on street lighting, speed bumps, sidewalks, and/or street repair?
It's extremely important. It's part of our infrastructure, something that we need to continue to maintain and build up within our city. Street lighting is a little unproportionate throughout our neighborhoods. I believe that they're trying now to put in LED lights in all street lights in neighborhoods, which is the same type of light that they're putting up in parking lots. It's way too bright. They need to figure out an alternative for the street lighting in neighborhoods. As far as speed bumps are concerned, I am not a fan of speed bumps on our city street. I think it's a huge liability. And for our public safety, our fire department and our police officers driving through there, trying to get through relatively quick, it's going to be a problem. It's going to slow our response time way down if they have to worry about that. Our streets need to be modified as far as getting them stronger, as far like freeways, so they don't get the ruts in them as our trucks drive down them. But all of these areas are very, very important, very, very important part of our infrastructure.
Mr. Lucio?
Yes, and looking at all three, streetlights are always important because obviously they do deter crime. But I think a lot of people fail to realize that the city can't replace streetlights if you don't call us and tell us that the streetlights are out. In College Park, it's a little different. You have to call the homeowners association; they're responsible for it. Same as the preserve. So you have to notify them in order for them to change it. If they don't know, they're not gonna address the issue. Speed bumps, I kind of agree. Everybody's gonna want speed bumps on their streets, but the reality is when you have first responders responding there, when you have the fire department responding there, these people are gonna be bottoming out their cars when they're going over to emergency calls. I think we need to, if there's obviously a problem with speeding, we need to contact the police department. They'll put up things up there to actually track to see how fast cars are going and how often they're doing it and when the peak time is occurring. And then we'll address those issues with directed patrols. Infrastructure, yes. We did develop that maintenance program. We're going to start moving. We've already set as a council where we want to be as far as percentages and where we want our streets. Now it's just a matter of funding it. So that's the only thing that's holding us up at this point. That's going to be something we're going to discuss on the next on our next workshop when we do our budget, and how much money are we going to set aside to make sure that our infrastructure stays in the quality that we want. Thank you.
Thank you. We will start with Mr. Wu on the next question. And it is, how will you plan to increase communication with residents and businesses if you're elected?
Like I have stated before, I work at home, so I'm available 24, no, not 24/7, but pretty much in that direction. And I'm on social media all the time, and I welcome any comments, any communication from the neighbors and in the area. And if I'm in the position to communicate with the city hall, and I'll be glad to deliver their message. That's what the city council do, deliver the message.
Thank you. Ms. Orozco,
Can you repeat that real quick?
how will you plan to increase communication with residents and businesses if you're elected?
I think the key is that we need to reach out to the community and not expect for them to reach out to us. It's incumbent upon us to see what our residents, what our businesses are in need of. And how can we do that? We could do it pop-ups. To provide information, we could do YouTube, and not a council person by themselves, but direct staff to touch upon a particular issue that we learn is coming up within the community. But I think the key is that we need to reach out to the community and not expect for them to contact us.
Mr. Marquez.
Communication and collaboration are key to any successful business or organization. On my website, I've presented a communication plan where I've offered a variety of ways for my neighbors in the city to communicate with me, whether it's on social media, Zoom, phone. I put my personal phone number on my website and social media, email, whatever form of communication my neighbors are comfortable, I will always be accessible to them. I'm very responsive to my neighbors' concerns and any questions that they have, and I'll continue to keep that website up. I'll continue to communicate with my neighbors in the city, and there's no Brown Act violations with talking to your neighbors and hearing their problems and listening to their solutions and ideas for the future of this city. That's something that I promise that I will be their voice on council, and I will always listen to their concerns. Thank you.
Mr. Burton.
I think it's important to meet with our folks regularly, and you can do that. You can put it out on social media. You can put it out on the city's website, the police department's website, the billboards that Mr. Lucio was recommending. There's all sorts of ways that you'll be able to get the word out. You can meet, and you can actually take the show out to the residents, meeting with them at restaurants or churches. Whatever avenue is the best for that particular area, it definitely can be done.
Thank you, Mr. Lucio.
I think the name of the game is just making yourself available. Putting yourself out there, letting the residents know that they can get a hold of you, whether it's via email, whether you put out your phone number and have them call you, or just walking the neighborhood and running into people and talking to them. That's the one good thing about being in a district is you actually live with your neighbors. But one of the things that we used to do prior to the pandemic was we had City Hall on the move. So we'd go to different places like Target over in the Spectrum. We'd go to the Stater Brothers in off of Euclid and Schaefer. And we'd be out there when people are shopping. So if they had a question, they can come up and they can talk to us. And it wasn't just the city council, but it was also the police department. It was also city staff. So that's the way we can make ourselves available. But at the end of the day, I think it's just availability. You make yourself available and let the people know that you're always willing to listen to whatever concerns that they have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bouchard.
One of the key aspects to close the gap in communication between the businesses and the residences is to make the communication, to reach out to them through social media and make the communication easier and faster. Also increasing availability of the council. As I said earlier, also that I will be available all the evenings and weekends and Fridays every other week. My phone number and my emails will be public and available to all residents. And I will be addressing each concern and each situation differently by listening to the constituent who have the concern and what he thinks his solution or what he needs help with. Then address each situation differently. Other than that is, I believe if we create some sort of an application or website that will allow the communication between the councilman and the constituents in the district a lot easier and faster.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Roscoe, you were going to start our next round. This question is about economic opportunity. The Inland Empire appears to be in a great economic position for future prosperity. What do you see as a great economic opportunity for the city, and how will you ensure that we're taking advantage of opportunities while maintaining a high quality of life?
Okay, repeat that question, please.
The Inland Empire appears to be in a great economic position for future prosperity. What do you see as a great economic opportunity for the city, and how will you ensure that we are taking advantage of these opportunities while maintaining a high quality of life?
That's a good question. So, economic growth. I'm stumped on that one. So I think we need to make sure that we re-examine and revise as circumstances change or as opportunities present themselves. I think, for instance, at the preserve, new development, we need to ensure that we have commercial development, retail development, like for instance for our preserve residents. I believe that when they planned that area, a lot of our residents were going to the neighboring cities, so we need to make sure that we keep everything from within. We need to not lose sight of our goal of maintaining the quality of life for our residents. We need to make sure that our infrastructure is in place for whatever we do, whether it's creating more development or everything that we do has to be responsible. It has to be responsible growth. And so, thank you.
Mr. Marquez.
I believe the city of Chino has a lot of economic opportunities just by our relationship geographically with 4 different freeways. We're close to the 60, the 71, 91, the 15. And that creates a lot of opportunities for businesses to come into the city and also attract customers from other cities to spend their money in our city. So I think promoting, I believe by serving on the council, it's important to promote our businesses to operate in the city and to start in their business in the city and help them create new job opportunities for our residents. Most of our, like myself, commute to work, and I think that we could inventory a lot of the vacant businesses that we have, repurpose some of those into office spaces, and attract different types of businesses. Most people have side hustles, side jobs, in which they need office space, and we're lacking office space in the city for our professionals who live in the city. So I think there's a lot of economic opportunities to develop a variety of building options and as far as zoning for those types of businesses to be in the city.
Thank you. Mr. Burton.
We have a tremendous opportunity right here in Chino. This is a very unique city, and we are bordered by many different freeways and counties as well. Our Economic Development Division, as I mentioned previously, is out looking for those businesses to bring into our town to enjoy the things that we already have here right now. As far as the quality of life is concerned, it's going to do nothing but just skyrocket, I believe, within the next few years if we continue to go down this road.
Mr. Lucio.
Well, I think one of the economic opportunities that we have is it's attractive to live here. So when you look at the preserve, it's about a little over a third built out. We still got 2/3 to go. We have a huge commercial center that we have designed to go in from Pine Avenue to Bickmore on Euclid Avenue. I think we need strong city council members that are not going to be swayed by these industrial developers that say that we can't develop that land right now, that we should just put warehouses there. That area is specifically zoned to be a commercial area to be able to sustain the people in the preserve, to be able to have that tax base, to be able to pay for the infrastructure and the roads and the streets and everything that's in there. So if we are short-sighted and look at these people that continue to tell us that we can't develop it at this point, I think we're going to lose a big opportunity. I think with all the people that go to the East Vale, with all the people that are going to be going to Ontario Ranch, and with all the growth that's going to happen in the preserve, I think that's something that we need to make sure that we hold on to long-term so that we can develop something there and make that a flagship when you drive into Chino, that you see that as what you're, when you're coming in, not just a bunch of warehouses down Euclid Avenue. Thank you.
Mr. Bouchard.
In order to improve the life of the residents of City of Chino, we definitely need more retail. Retail that will provide easy access to the residents of Chino and provide more tax money to be spent and improve the quality of the public facilities in Chino. We definitely need to provide more recreational facilities for the residents. Promote working in Chino, living in Chino by providing more local jobs, providing more traffic relief, more after-school programs, and internships for kids, more for retirement assistant programs, and all of these in combination will improve the life of the residents of Chino and maintain the quality of life in the preserve, in the preserve and College Park, and all the other areas in City of Chino that are under development or the previously developed to achieve the same standard of quality of life.
Thank you. And back to you, Mr. Wu.
According to Inland Empire Planning Commission, the top growth job in the Inland Empire as a whole area are the healthcare and the logistics. And we need to sit down as a city council to study what our growth is, top growth is in the city in comparison to the Inland Empire. And also there are many other cities throughout the states and different counties. We can study their growth and their job prospect and to figure out what can we do to match up or to catch up to elevate our living standard. It's a long-term process, but it has to be done. If we continue down the path, we're gonna end with nothing but warehouse mazes in the truck and the diesel trucks. So we need to think smarter, have a broader view for our prospect. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll lead off with you, Mr. Marquez, on this one. Some commercial centers in Chino have not been maintained, are poorly monitored, and have lots of vacancies. As an elected council member, how would you reinvigorate those areas and bring businesses back? What resources, entities, and steps will you take?
Can you repeat that question again? It's like a four-part question.
Yeah, some commercial centers in Chino have not been maintained and they're poorly monitored and have lots of vacancies. As an elected council member, how would you reinvigorate those areas and bring businesses back? And what resources, entities, and steps will you take?
I had a long conversation with Chris Kennedy from our economic development, and there's a lot of focus on networking with businesses. Much of his time is spent reaching out to business owners, entrepreneurs, and even some of the big box stores to bring those businesses into the city. One of the issues that I see is that our Chino residents love our small businesses. And a lot of those big box companies, a lot of the chain restaurants are not going to survive in the city because we love our Taylor's Cafe, we love Riverside Grill, we love our hometown feel, we love that sense of belonging with our businesses. So I think that by attracting and working with the Chino Valley Chamber and our economic development and help promote a different type of business and entrepreneurs, like I mentioned several times before, new office spaces. I've talked to a lot of residents who find that they lack office spaces here. Our art community, musicians, architects, medical professionals, people in law, they have no space. They go to other cities, they rent a location, they conduct their business there. Let's repurpose, let's focus on creating new office spaces and locations where they can have their businesses here in the city.
Thank you. Mr. Burton.
I would agree with repurposing these buildings, these big box buildings that sit vacant and there aren't a whole lot of people that go and frequent them. We need to think about other things that can go in there. We need to think about medical offices. We need to think of maybe think about getting some entertainment venues down into those areas. But as I had mentioned before, and we had discussed this, the Economic Development Division is out there actively seeking businesses in regionally and throughout the state to bring that avenue of retail in, and it's just something that we need to continue to work on.
Mr. Lucio.
Yes, and looking at some of our shopping centers up north, I believe that's what you're talking about. One of them was family-owned. It still continues to be family-owned, and a lot of the people in the family that was owned by the trust didn't want to put any money into it. Now they've actually made a step forward. They've given us some plans on how they want to repurpose or redesign their shopping center. Some of the things that we also did is in our last RENA numbers is we ended up putting some housing in those areas. As you can tell, looking at Chino Hills shops, they're starting to try to put some housing around it, because you need housing around shopping centers now to make them sustainable. They have that at over in Rancho Cucamonga. They have that in Dos Lagos over in Corona. It's something that we're gonna need to do, and that's something that we passed in with Measure Y. We ended up changing our zoning. We ended up putting some housing along these shopping centers to incentivize these owners of these large commercial areas to actually put some money into it, and they can make some money obviously through housing. But on top of that, they can revitalize our long-needed shopping centers that have been, basically in Blythe. Thank you.
Mr. Bistro.
By bringing more, in order to bring more businesses, we definitely need to renovate those facilities. In order to renovate them, the city can look into working with the current facility owner by providing zero interest loans for construction and remodeling that's payable over a specific amount of years. Also, tax incentives to businesses to be relocated into those locations, as well as community attractive programs that will bring businesses into those shopping centers as activities over the weekends, and similar to what happens on the shops at Chino's, where there's concerts every weekend in the shopping center to promote and bring more residents into the center.
Thank you. Mr. Wu.
Well, to revitalize these shopping centers, you need shoppers. How do you create shoppers for for those shopping centers to be continue successful, we need to bring more people. Like Mr. Lucio just said, if we create more affordable housing, allow people to live in the surrounding area, those shopping centers will revitalize. Luckily, the area I want to represent don't have that issue. Thank you.
Mr. Roscoe?
Well, I think it all comes down to communication and having conversations, and learning why are we losing the businesses in the first place. For instance, I was banking up on Central in Philadelphia for years, and they suddenly moved in August. Why? What is the reason that we're losing these businesses? Now, they didn't go out of business. They just moved up the street on Central and Mission. And so I think those are the conversations that we need to have with landowners. Is it the landlords, or what is it that we're losing? Why are we losing these businesses? I have to agree with repurposing buildings. Northern Chino has a lot of vacant buildings, and so possibly repurposing them. Another thing is, can we offer economic incentives to get businesses to relocate to those business areas that are suffering? Thank you.
Thank you. We are running low on time, and so we're going to move off of the Q&A and move on to closing statements. We are going to go in reverse order of how we started this evening, and so we will begin with a closing statement from Auber Bouchara.
My area of expertise definitely in the infrastructure and city planning, master planning communities, and grant writing. My educational background is in civil engineering and public policy, city planning, and real estate development. Definitely this will make me the ideal candidate for developing and delivering solutions that will improve everybody's in Chino's life. My availability and willingness to help as a public servant will make me more available to the residents of Chino. I would like to serve every person in Chino, not just my residents and my area of District 3. Developing infrastructure is a major factor that will improve everybody's life, especially traffic. And being proactive and looking into identifying solutions early will avoid a lot of recorrectional actions that needs to be to address the problems in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lucio.
First of all, I want to thank the residents for giving me the last 4 years to represent them. What I'd like to say is vote for me because I kept my word. When I told you I wouldn't allow people to repurpose land, I didn't allow them to do that. Vote for me because I held developers accountable when they delivered projects and the projects were not what we considered complete. Well, we had to make changes to make sure that they at least were better for the residents. Vote for me because I, along with Councilwoman Comstock, helped bring the Chino Valley Unified School District and the Lewis Company together to ensure that they get a second school in the preserve, and it's going to open in 2024. That was one of the biggest concerns that area wanted, and we were able to help facilitate that and bring those two entities together. Vote for me because I prevent real estate developers from changing zonings, and I'm not going to allow them to change Euclid Avenue from the commercial to industrial. Vote for me because during the pandemic, I, along with the rest of the city council, stood with our local business owners and allowed them to develop their own plan on how to keep their customers safe. This led to Chino being the only city that allowed indoor dining in private and privately owned fitness centers to remain open. Vote for me because I, along with the rest of the city council, never bowed down to the pressure to defund our police department. In fact, we have consistently funded our police department and have added additional commercial traffic officers as well as technology to combat crime and traffic. We've implemented a lot of technology. We have synchronized lights. We have a management program that we're now looking at to see which roads need the most work and how long are we going to get if we don't, how much life are we going to get out of these roads before we completely need to redo them. This is a council now that is forward thinking. We're looking ahead. We're trying to make advances. We want to bring up our level of service so that when people think of Chino, we're not the city that takes a second step to anybody, and we're changing the mentality of our employees. We're changing the mentality of the city council where we're constituent-based as opposed to developer-based. So vote for me, because if you want to continue to see this city grow and this city continue to improve, then vote for me, and I'll continue to fight for you to make sure that that occurs. Thank you.
Thank you. Your closing statement, Mr. Burton.
I'd like to thank the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this forum. I'd also like to thank all the other candidates for their willingness to serve the city. You don't find a whole lot of people that are willing to step up and make a difference. So I'd like to say thank you. I'm retired. Once again, our kids are grown. I have the opportunity to invest the time necessary to be an effective council member. I am the most qualified and experienced candidate for District 2. I have literally shed my blood, sweat, and tears serving the city of Chino. I have celebrated great times with our citizens, and I have mourned with them at the loss of their loved ones. You can count on me to put my expertise in public safety, deep ties in the community, and the heart that I have for this city into action to make Chino a great place to live, work, and start a family. I would be honored to receive your vote. To learn more about my campaign, please visit my website at burtonforchino.com. Thank you very much for listening, and may God bless you.
Thank you. And Mr. Marquez.
When I began my campaign for the District 2 seat, I set up my info booth at community events, engaged in a social media campaign, and began to walk each neighborhood in my district. What I learned is that everyone is proud to live in this city. But many people have concerns and problems that can be addressed by council and city staff. They just never engaged or lost hope in the city's ability to deliver services to them. I want all my neighbors to know I will always be accessible to them, and I will always be their voice on council. I believe the political landscape has changed in our society, and people are tired of politicians. So your call to action is to get involved. Spend some time to get to know me, check out my website, and review my communication plan so we can connect and solve problems in your neighborhood together. To learn more, I've provided a detailed description of my policy platform and ways to support my campaign. Lastly, I want to thank all my neighbors who have supported my campaign by putting up yard signs, the encouraging words. I want to thank Councilmember Lucio for his endorsement in my campaign, because I know that he believes in me, and I know that my neighbors in District 2 also believe in me. I don't want to get too emotional, but I want to thank my wife, Angie, and my kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Orozco, closing statement.
Chino needs a strong, experienced, independent voice to represent District 2 on the City Council. As a lifelong resident, former school board trustee, and businesswoman, I'm especially qualified to be your voice. I don't have an agenda. I want to serve you, the community. I want to champion and advocate for District 2 while being supportive of the other districts. While I may focus on District 2 residents, I realize I must have a global perspective. The council must do what's in the best interest of all residents. So what's my top priority? Simple, to keep Chino strong. Strong for our public safety. We must support our public safety by providing them the resources they need to keep Chino safe. And strong for our residents. Provide support and effective programs for our youth, our seniors, and services for our residents. Strong for businesses. Let's work with local businesses to help them succeed. While cities need healthy economic development, I will only support responsible growth. We're strong for Chino's heritage. Let's preserve our community's special character. Keep Chino as one of the top communities to raise a family. Let's maintain our family-friendly quality of life. Revitalize, yet maintain or improve the quality of life for our residents in the city of Chino. I recognize that one person alone cannot make changes. However, I do believe the right combination together can make a difference. I believe I can be a vital factor in that equation. I'm confident I'll be an asset as a team player with a collaborative spirit. I've built relationships with other elected officials. I will strengthen and expand on those relationships for the betterment of Chino residents. As a lifelong resident and having raised my family in Chino, I'm vested in our community. I love Chino and the special community we have. And as your councilwoman, I will be strong and independent for you. I respectfully ask, vote Chino strong, vote Sylvia Orozco. Thank you.
Thank you, and Mr. Wu.
Well, thank this opportunity to allow me to express myself, explain myself. My only agenda is very simple. I want to be the voice for my district. I want to be the voice for my neighbors. And I have an open policy, open door policy. They can contact me any way, any form, any shape, any time. And I will promise to carry their message to the city hall, work with the other council members to find a solution to solve their problems. And that's what I'm here for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of our candidates. I want just a quick personal note. Thank you to Zeb Wellborn and the Chamber staff for organizing this event. Great job as usual, all of you. It's so important for the community to hear what these candidates have to say. And I salute Zeb and the staff for consistently putting on such a professional show, and I appreciate it. I would also like to thank all the candidates running for City Council this year. Thank you for sharing your insights with us tonight and for your commitment to serve the city of Chino. On behalf of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, we wish all of you the best in the upcoming election, and happy voting, everyone.